excellent journalist. Manu there, also a trained journalist, veteran of the India Council. Shaklan, also representing students, has been here with us for some time. Feel free to ask these questions that you want to ask. And of course, not forgetting Timothy Simwa, who will be taking us through these discussions. Simwa is from Mediamax K24. He's been reported here. He's worked with Mediamax for quite some time. I know he will be able to tell us his portfolio work. And then, of course, we have Rahab with us, also from the Great National Polytechnic, representing the young burning journalists. So maybe we can go straight into prayers, and then we can open the round of introductions. I'm hoping by at least 12, we should 11, that is, should be concluded these discussions. And in between, depending on our moderators of the day, if there is need to have a tea break in between, or ultimately after, you let us know, because immediately after this, we will have a walk to the Eldoret GK prison. It's not very far from here, past Moigans, kwenye barabara ya nyuma pale Dola, hapo tunaingia prison. They are expecting us at around 12. We'll have a very brief session there, na ni ya kupeana usaidizi kwa akina mama na watoto ambao wanazuiliwa sehemu hii. So somebody can pray for us.
Father Lord, we come before you this morning saying thank you because of the gift of health and life given unto each and every one of us. We submit our lives before you as we begin this session. We pray God so that you can help us be proactive in each and every discussion we are going to do. Give us knowledge, give us wisdom, and feedback. Thank you because of each and every one of these presence. We pray God so that you can be with us through until the time we are going to come to debate. We thank you and we are going to the name this morning. In Jesus' name I do pray and believe.
We can begin by introducing ourselves from here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Matthew and I work for Waziri Vision.
What are your expectations today?
I'm really getting to hear from you all and also learn. There's no end of learning and share what I know about this day. Morning everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Violet again from Baptist.
Good morning.
Can you get the message? Yes.
Morning.
Morning.
My name is Yamara Sandra from Eltop College.
Alto. Can you introduce yourself? No, you don't have to stand up by the way. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Annette Chemwetich from Zitech University.
Yes.
Morning, everyone. My name is Gino Gola from Moi University.
Well done.
My name is Samuel Oyondi from Moi University.
Good morning. My name is Sonia Michelle from Moi University, and thank you for having us here, and I'm looking forward to learn more.
Good morning. My name is Valerie Kimathi. I'm working with Nyota TV and a member of Uasin Gishu Journalists Association.
Good morning. Elvis Wasikte from the Eldoret Media Hub.
Hamjambo. My name is Edmond Kipngana, working with Tuko and also Vice Chair Uasin Gishu Journalists Association.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Koril from Rongo University.
Moi University.
Good morning. My name is Joel Kafura from Moi University.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Akinyi from Moi University.
Good morning.
My name is Ruth Sang. I work for Hubs Media.
Pass it there to our camera person as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Aziza Muredi from Hubs Media.
Aziza, pass it to Makini.
Good morning. My name is Fabian Makini, Moi University.
Sana, camera person.
Good morning.
Good morning.
George Nyamwari, Hubs Media.
We have Charity here.
Good morning. My name is Charity Papai. I work for Radio 47.
Thank you very much. We have the panel now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shakland Masisi from the Technical University of Kenya. I'm in the panel today representing the students.
Good morning. My name is Emmanuel Tarus, working with Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, KBC Radio, and Kitwek FM. Part of the panel.
Habari ya asubuhi. Jina langu ni Naomi Cheruiyot, nafanya na kituo cha Radio
Maisha. A media trainer at Eldoret National Polytechnic. Also a journalist with the Uasin Gishu News. Thank you. I'm a member of the panel.
Yeah, good morning. I know I've had prior introductions, but I'm Timothy Simo, like the chairman said. I'm a journalist. I identify myself as a multimedia journalist. I work with MediaMax, K24. I want to take this opportunity to welcome most especially our revered students from different learning institutions, but most importantly, those who are coming from Moi University, because that is the same place where I was some 10 years ago. So feel at home. It's a pleasure having you around. Let me allow my co-host to also introduce herself before we can proceed from there.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Rahab. The Eldoret National Polytechnic. I wish to welcome all of you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, of course, it goes without saying that World Press Freedom Day is normally celebrated on 3rd of May, but today is 4th. We are having this occasion today because it happened that yesterday was on a weekend. That's why we have chosen that we have to be here today and make sure that we are being part of the discussion around media freedom, not just within our country, but also across the world. There is a famous saying by one of the many American presidents. I think they are now 47. Yeah, by the name Thomas Jefferson. And nothing speaks to the importance of media freedom than the quote from that wise president. And he said, I don't know if I can exactly remember the words as they were. Maybe I can make some reference to Uncle Google kidogo. But these were the words of Thomas Jefferson when he was asked about the role of media in our society. He said, were it left to me to decide whether we should have a government without newspapers or newspapers without a government, I should not hesitate a moment to prefer the latter. What Jefferson simply meant that perhaps our societies are more safer with media than we are with governments. And I think it's from that basis that the United Nations General Assembly settled on 3rd of May as a day where the world commemorates the importance and the freedom of media around the world. This is not just a day for Kenya, but also across the world. So in the course of this discussion, we will be reflecting on some of the issues or some of the emerging issues facing the media industry in the country, because these are issues that are closer to us. And our panelists, by virtue of the time they've been around, especially for our students, will have to share their experiences, what they are seeing, and at the end of the day, we are hoping that you'll also have learned something. But also I want to remind you to be free to ask questions. It's through asking that we get to learn. Hakuna swali ya ujinga. Unapouliza swali hivyo ndivyo unavyojifunza. If there is something you've heard about the media, because as a student, of course, I know we are limited in a way. There are things you hear around, kama rumors too, mambo ya media generally. This must be a very important session for you to, ask the right questions and get the answers. So, Rahab, can you just read for us through the theme from that, whatever the chairman shared on UJA, so that we can a little bit expound on that and open the floor for members to contribute.
The theme of this year is talking all about shaping a future at peace, and also press freedom as a driver of the peace, and also economic development, social cohesion. So regarding this, before maybe we get to talk more about the theme, I would like that our panelists to maybe, I know we have different, we have CC standing for representing the students. And, each panelist have its own category. So I would like our panel to maybe talk a little bit on what they are standing for, and maybe from their different perspective, whatever they are doing, maybe in a student talking about how students are maybe majoring in this industry, are they getting to be involved in this industry as they are practicing their journalistic work. And also we have our trainer here, one of the trainer. He will be in a position to tell us maybe more about how they are maybe ensuring that the students get the clear, and when they are coming out to this industry, they should be in a position to report the actualism of this industry. Thank you.
You can go like 10 times or even more, but they are taking you from one point to another, but they are not giving you the information that the press safety is maybe written in the constitution, but outside here it is not followed. It is not being looked into, because sometimes you find some of the journalists, when they go to a certain place, even police stations, you find that it is so hard for them to believe or to attend to a journalist. When you introduce yourself as a journalist first, they see you as a traitor. It's like you are just working on negative stories, but it might be you are looking for information and you are doing a good story, but they will not even encourage you, or they will not even welcome you in the right way. They will handle you in a manner that you even, no one even should be done to. So press freedom is still like 50% in Kenya. Thank you.
The press freedom has been attacked or not attacked. One is that I wish to recognize that we have press freedom in this country. These freedoms, today as we speak, are under threats. The freedoms are there, but they are under threats. And these threats come in various tiers. One of it is from the government itself. Through the past few years, we've seen media houses having these revenues continuously shrink, and even at some point used to buy, say, government to kind of try to twist news. That is also a threat from that level, and it has many consequences, because we've seen some of the best trained minds exiting the media landscape because the kind of pay there is not publishing a particular story, and we've seen this even in the region that we are in. So the county government would want to use advertisement as a tool to twist editorial content of some of these media houses within the CBD by persons who are not very comfortable by the content that was being published against, they perceived that it was targeting the county leadership. And as such, with the blessings of the county,
One of the biggest threats that scares us even as we gear up towards the elections 2027 is the issue of Gonism, and the cabinet secretary,
especially from the experiences they have shared with us and what they've had to go through in the course of practicing media. Maybe let me just contribute something a little bit, especially for the younger generation in the room. It has not always been like this. Like most of the speakers have said, haijakuwa hivi siku zote. Most of you are quite young. I know you might not be privy to this kind of history unless you've read it somewhere. When I was on attachment some time back, nilikaa na mzee fulani akaanza kunipigia story kuhusu mambo ya media freedom, and he told me of a story how the Nyayo era then used to intimidate journalists. Like in his case, you know, hii gazeti inaitwa The People Daily. There was a time around 1996-92. It was the most popular newspaper in the country. Ilikuwa inatoka bi-weekly. So he used to write for The People Daily. So they did a story. Matiba then was a threat to the government. And the guy, kama hawajakushika, so this was his experience. Although at some point, of course, he was arrested. Like, what was your name? Jewel. Yeah. If the government notices that, or rather operatives, if you notice kwamba mafanya story ambayo haijapendeza serikali, like it happened in the case of Mzee Mkalo Kwaera, walikuwa wanatuma operatives wa serikali. Alikuwa anaishi Merema. So what these guys used to do, Men in Black, akiamka asubuhi anapata kuna kama wanne kwa gate wamemgoja hapo, atakuja atawapita, akienda kazi wanamfuata nyuma until anaingia ofisi, wanabaki nje and they leave. Akitoka jioni anapata kwa and will still escort him to home. Akifika kwake nabaki hapo kwa gate, akiamka asubuhi wako. That is psychological torture. So he kept on wondering, hawa ni kina nani wanaonifuata? Then what followed later, wakamwambia wache hiyo mchezo unafanya. Of course, through his friends. He told me of a story. They were arrested wengi, and you know it used to be very brutal. Wakapelekwa Shimo la Tewa, and they didn't even care kwamba walikuwa mixed gender. They strip you naked and put you in one room, wanawake kwa wanaume. The only reason ni kwa sababu umefanya story ambayo haijapendeza serikali. And those people are really determined to inform the public of what was happening in the country. So he tells me, kuna wakati walitoroka akaenda Mandera. So he used to be a correspondent from Mandera, and he adopted a name ya Ethiopia, akiandikia then Kenya Times. But wanasemaka serikali ina mkono mrefu. Still wakamtumia hiyo special branch, and of course they sent a friend of him. One morning akiwa amekaa jamaa akampigia akamwambia, bana Mkala, tunajua wewe ndio mimi bana hizi vitu, and you are here, so if you love your life just go back there na wachana na hii mambo yako. And he came back. So it was not easy at all. Like the chairman said, before 2010, upon the promulgation of the new constitution, that's when some semblance of media freedom is set in the country. But back then, it used to be bad. Maybe we can say around 2002, when Kibaki took over power, then he opened the media space, because before 2002, Citizen TV was not known by anyone. Ilikuwa ni around that time tukiwa primary school ndio tukaanza kusikia Citizen TV kaje kwenye mawimbi, lakini wakati huo radio ilikuwa ni moja. And of course, editorial content was highly supervised by the government. Rais Moi kwa miaka mingi sisi tunamjua kama mtukufu rais. Yeah. The glorified, actually the glorified mtukufu ni glory. Yeah. In English is simply the glorified president. I don't know for what reason. So it has not always been like this. There is some semblance of freedom that has set in, especially with the coming of the new constitution. and opening of democratic spaces in the country, we cannot fail to mention that. Demokrasia kwa upande wake nayo imechangia kwa asilimia fulani, especially with the coming of the multi-party democracy in the year 1992. The chairman also mentioned something to do, and this is very critical for our younger colleagues in the room. Media funding. I think it is the biggest threat the industry is facing today. Mzungu anasemanga, he who pays the piper calls the tune. Anayekulipa wewe atakuamuru kitu ambacho utasema. So now imagine if a media is dependent on government revenue, and for the longest time that has been the culture. And then a regime comes in and says, unless you align with what we are saying, then you're not going to get our revenues. You've heard of redundancies, laying off in media houses, watu wanafuta kazi, kampuni zinapunguza watu. It all has to do with the issue of media funding. And not all media houses are entirely, independent. Some, of course, they are government leaning, kuna zingine ambazo ziko very private. So mambo ya pesa pia ina limit what we can do as journalists. Are we saying that a time shall come when we can have absolute freedom? I highly doubt that, because even in the Western world, the CNNs of this world, the Fox News and the BBCs of this world, they always have some sort of an alignment. Like in the American world, if you are CNN, you're most likely to be which party? Our students, that is. Students? Republican? If you are CNN? Democrat. If you are CNN, you are likely to be a supporter of the Democrats. And if you are Fox News, you are a supporter of what? The Republicans. So in some way, these alignments shall always be there. But as a country, if you are to compare with our neighbors, like in Tanzania and Uganda is worse. Okay, Uganda I can say maybe wako kidogo, but Tanzania is worse. Someone, I can't remember the second name. He did a story that was hitting the government. And wow, bado na operate kama sisi miaka hiyo. You are detained without trial. If you are going to arrest me, make sure that within 24 hours you produce me in a court of law. And if you fail to do that, and that case is brought before a judge, then they let me free as a journalist. So the challenges are still there, but at least, like my colleagues have said, we are making progress. I think the next course of discussion then should be focusing on what the theme is trying to say. We are going into the elections in actually it's next year. And then how can we, as the media people or the industry, make sure that as a country we remain together? We do not witness the events of 2007, for instance. As we are talking today, there are two communities within the northern part of this country that have been clashing. Must hear you? Yeah. Which one are those? Somalis and Kambas, actually. Somalis and Kambas are fighting. Yeah. From Mandera, exactly. So then how can we, what is our role? Just briefly, maybe in Tanzania, our panelists, a bit of your contribution. What are we going to next year?
Let me reference back to the question, the topic on economic pressure and the shrinking of revenue in the media space.
Sure.
As we're heading into the general election, next year, shrinking of revenue in the media space, inafanya survival itaingia kwa space ya media space, because media houses will now start surviving, because you've said layoffs will be happening, some media houses will be collapsing. And when survival comes into question, editorial independence itakuwaje? So hiyo ndio kitu tunafaa tuangalie tukienda kwa hii election ya 2027. And also we try and look at digital disruption as also a threat. You've said, you know, the Kambas and Somalis are clashing. They might be clashing because of probably something that has happened, or probably, you know, something that has happened online. So as we head into the elections, you know, everyone now has a smartphone. Everyone can be, you know, a media personnel in the election that we are going into. Like, kitu ita happen, mtu a post asemi imefanyika mahali from Mandera, triggering, you know, reactions zenye probably the editors wangezuia in the normal media space industry, but we are in a generation whereby tutashindwa ku control what is out there in what will be said during the election, and we ought to be careful, but it is not really in our hands to control what will happen in the coming elections. I think as a student tukitoka campus tunajua, you know, if you want something to trend, you know, you as students are enough, mutatweet.
Thank you. While I contribute on that question, yes, I would also like to talk about the Kenya Information Communication Act of 2013. You all remember the draconian I call it a myth of objectivity because as a person we all have personal biases. Yeah. So being aware of your biases is very crucial as we head to 2027. Number one, we stick to the Code of Conduct for the Practice of Journalism in Kenya, developed by the Media Council of Kenya. We be ethical. Number two, we be aware of the information disorders. There are three. One is the misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. We be aware of those things. Now that we are living in a digital world, there are several issues, fake news all over. Should we run with those fake news? If we talk about misinformation, false information shared with an intention of, without an intention of causing harm. Then disinformation, false information shared with an intention of causing harm. Should we be doing that? I guess the answer is no. So we be aware about those three information disorders. And the last one is gatekeeping function. You are the first gatekeeper ukiwa hapa mashinani. There is your editor, he's also a gatekeeper. We stick to gatekeeping function right from hapa mashinani as we go upwards, because we are aware elections are a very emotive issue in Kenya. So we should do those three things. I've talked about objectivity, the myth. I've talked about information disorders and the gatekeeping function. That is my contribution. Yes. Yes.
we as journalists, maybe how are we going to rebuild our trust in the public?
Rebuilding our trust calls for one thing. We stick to the code of conduct for the practice of journalism in Kenya. We be ethical. We cannot compete with the social media space. We cannot. We are not in a competition. We report what is actual, what is fact, what is accurate of regaining our trust.
And just maybe a top up on what is said. One key aspect is that when the president was in Italy just the other day, a few weeks ago, he mentioned that we are suffering as a country from 3/4 of disinformation, just on information disorder that he spoke about. And I think just taking it a notch higher is that I think it's about time. You asked a very good question. What do we need to do as we gear up towards the elections? This is a place where the media, as you rightly put it, is not in a competition with citizen reporters. Our work today is no longer to break news, it's to verify information. So I think media houses and newsrooms, as we head up towards the elections, I think they need to set up teams, well-trained staff, journalists who are able to do the verification work, because a lot of this information will be awash in the digital spaces. How can we prepare, that should be the question, how can we prepare the newsroom to handle information disorder that will find itself, especially when we allow members of the public to post information on those social handles, even for the media houses. When information is moving around, how do we deal with that? Be way and far, other than just reporting what has happened, misinformation, information disorder will be the biggest threat to peace in 2027. And I thank some of the institutions, for example, the Rural Women Peace Link. 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, we were training members of the community in Langas on how to deal with information disorder, misinformation, and for purposes of those who may not be able to distinguish the three of them. Misinformation is when you just share that message that was posted, on that social page that you are in, and you unknowingly shared it to others without knowing what harm it would cause, whether it is accurate or not. Disinformation is when you knowingly know that this information is wrong and you share it in other platforms, for example. And then malinformation is when this information has been weaponized. This information is true, but however, when you share it, it's likely to cause harm. And more often than not, this information is on private, your private information, for example, your marital status, your medical status. When I share this and you are running as a woman rep, you will be contesting for a woman rep position for government. Then I end up, stating to the public your medical condition, which might be true. I will be weaponizing that information to discredit you, for members of the public who may be wanting to vote you in. So information disorder will be one of the greatest threats to peace, even when we gear up towards the election. This is why I'm saying maybe it's about time our newsrooms, our journalists who are also in the field, in spaces like we are in here today, they ought to be trained vastly on how to deal with information disorder. Secondly, I think it's about time that we also invest in those tools that would help journalists and media houses, be able to identify and also respond, not only identifying information disorder, but how to respond to that information disorder on the various platforms. The other thing will be, and this is very critical, and it was part of the training for members of the community, those who are very influential in the community, and it is on conflict-sensitive training. The language we would use, especially when we are reporting on a matter that is happening between the Somalis and the Kambas, what language am I going to use on air? Is it likely to escalate violence? And for avoidance of doubt, conflict will always be there with us. Conflict will always be there with us. The only challenge is, how do we handle conflict? Because sometimes conflict is good, it leads to change. It leads to, people getting needs addressed. So there is always a need. And where there is a need, there will always be a conflict. The only thing that makes it worse is when it results into violence. And more often than not, it is a result of rumors that spread unchecked that continuously now lead to the harm the physical harm that manifests thereafter. So I think in a nutshell, what we need to do, media houses and even organizations, and of course not forgetting government, I think dealing with information disorder, if it's already disturbing the president, we need media houses that are, have resources, have the capabilities to help the nation navigate through these elections by dealing with information disorder. And this can only happen when media houses are properly, they have resources. Secondly, international organizations and even NGOs can also invest in training journalists and influential community members on how to deal with information disorder and conflict-sensitive reporting. Thank you.
So there was another threat to press freedom that maybe we did not highlight. Today, the government has decided that if you cannot beat them, you join them. So the government is poaching best of the journalists with the media stations, the media houses, to go work for the state. And so we had very good reporters who were very brilliant brains in their media stations, that now, since they've realized there is an economic gap or the economic problems with the media stations, they have now decided we are going to pick those brilliant brains so that they work for the government. Maybe now, as I've said, that we can now, in our minds, we have one or two good journalists that we know that are no longer practicing journalism and now are working for the government. And so towards 2027, the media stations should at least work on preparing more journalists who are going to stand for the truth, who are going to keep on checking on the state so that good journalism, press freedom is not brought down. Thank you.
Okay, adding on the one on the safety or the future at peace, is the theme came at the right time, maybe because the election in Kenya, it's just future, something that we look onto, is the journalists should remain in promoting the ethical professionalism. This is the reason to say we have to stick to a profession, like you stick as a professional, you do each and everything as a professional. You should report or you should work on the news items or the news stories which are balanced to avoid what we call biasness, or you as a journalist you should not report on something, or you should not post or put you into a platform some things that might bring tension to the society. So we have to promote the professionalism and make sure that we know or we teach ourselves on the safety measures or about the journalistic work. We have to know or we teach ourselves on the safety measures so that we can do this. We do or we become a sensitive journalist. We don't just do anything in any other way. Another one is we familiarize ourselves, because this is a digital era and we have the digital tools, and inside the digital tools we find that sometimes we undergo technology or digital harassment. So we have to familiarize ourselves and avoid or teach ourselves how we will get out or come out of the harassment digital wise. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe to add on a point on safety. During the elections, okay, my fellow panelists have touched on safety concerns. What we as the media space can do to nini tutafanya alafu itazalia kuleta shida kwa the public. We might end up publishing fake news and probably ilete shida, but we also need to focus on the scenario whereby we also are humans as media personnel. We are also prone to attacks during this as we head into elections, campaigns, when political convoys are being attacked in these in these political campaigns and stuff, we have media personnel in these convoys. So it begs the question, as we protect the public from, harm or whatever, we also need to remember ourselves and protect ourselves as we head into this period of election. Yeah.
Kwa shakla ye social media guide tunasema, so because this person has posted, this is the right thing to be done, now this is what has happened. We have to have the correct sources giving us information. That is why we say in media we have what we call fact-checking and also accuracy. And again, before we go from that chapter, I made a question to our trainer, from a class trainer's perspective. As journalists, we adequately prepared? Seeing as maybe are we prepared to report maybe complex issues like maybe environmental crisis as journalists?
That is an open question. In terms of preparation, it will be different either from an individual or an institution. Measures or actions or programs or that the various institutions are putting in place to ensure that trainees or students are prepared for the industry. One of them is industrial attachment. This is a very good exposure for learners to come to the industry and also face the challenge of press freedom, so that they also see that, okay, this is what is happening in the industry. We have those that are attending mentorship programs or apprenticeships. They are getting prepared for the industry in various ways. There are also those that in themselves, kwa Kiswahili wanasema wanajituma kivyao, so that they are ready for the industry needs. Maybe there are no enough programs that have been put in place for a particular niche, to be ready for you to train a particular niche. But if the trainees are get exposed through such platforms, they will also be prepared to report in various niche or beats. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to underscore something, and the rules. And if I were you, referring to our younger colleagues in the room, there are three very important words I would love, or I would have wished that by the end of business today, at least if you are asked, you can have an idea of what that is. Disinformation, and malinformation. These are three distinct things, and I'm happy that the chairman tried to elaborate it for you. A good learner, unless you have the wits of Tom Joseph Mboya, you must always have something to write down these points. They are very important. I mentioned Mboya because we are told that during his times where we walk into a meeting, listen to the entire session and walk out and tell you everything that happened, and it did not even happen. So unless you have the wits of Thomas Mboya, then I would recommend that next time if we are having this discussion, you can always write. And everyone can be a victim of misinformation, or malinformation, especially in the era of artificial intelligence. Sometime last year, the permanent secretary for foreign affairs, is foreign affairs, Korea, someone went on AI, akaona kitu inaitwa deepfakes video. It's where you take a video today, not a video necessarily, just an audio, sauti yangu, sura yangu, and then you make a video. Probably I'm abusing the president, and that's not even me. So what someone did, alienda akachukua jamaa anaitwa Farid Zakaria is a political show host on CNN, and the guy was talking highly about Kenya, especially in the wake of rumors that we were helping Sudan. We were aligned with one of the factions that are fighting in Sudan. And the PS, this is the PS of Foreign Affairs, went on Twitter and shared that video, purporting that that was a true video. While it was a deep fake, it was like the man was left with an egg on his face. It was so bad. Remember, this is our number 3 diplomat in the country after the president, the PS for Foreign Affairs, the CS for Foreign Affairs, and himself. Na jamaa akaenda akaweka Twitter. Ilikuwa mbaya sana. Ilikuwa ni aibu. Alikuja aka-apologize. Now, think about someone in Nyakoko village, especially when we are going into the elections. Mtu anaenda tu mahali anakaa, anaunda video, anaanza kusema hatutaki Waluhya hii area yetu, na ameweka sura ya politician that you know. Hatutaki Wamasai hapa, hatutaki Wakikuyu. Wewe, you are a student, you are on social media and you're like, have you seen that? Wamesema wataki Wajaluo hapa. And that's a deep fake. Probably ameweka sauti ya Oscar Sudi and is going viral on WhatsApp, on TikTok, and you guys are all over on social media. Before you realize, your grandmother or your grandfather or your cousin at home here you are not feeling. And by the way, it's so bad. And I'm glad that Taru said we are not actually competing social media, because we can't. The way information spreads, the only role we are left with is now to tell the people the truth. I know we have had discussions around, social media is going to do away with mainstream media. I don't really think that will be the case, even with all the challenges that we are having at the moment. At the end of the day, in the era of fake news, we really need people who will tell the audience, or media people will tell the audience of the world what exactly is happening. In the absence of that, we ban this country, especially going into the elections where people have biases. Kuna watu wa one term, kuna watu wa 2 term, kuna wengine tu wapo katikati. But either way, you always have a feeling ni wapi na wapi mtu anaegemea. So I think it has been a very robust discussion. TJ, I really wanted you to tell us something, because you've been a part of us for the longest time. You're a journalist. We are marking World Press Freedom Day, and of course the discussion is around just the spaces within which we work. The immediate discussion has got to do with going into the elections. What are we supposed to do to make sure that in the course of our reporting, we keep the country together and we report objectively.
Thank you, Sim. I'll be very brief, because I've just realized we have a staff meeting, which usually happens every first Monday of the month. My name is Tom Juma. Those we've not met. I work for Transparency International as the regional coordinator, North Rift Region. But I'm part of the board of the Uasin Gishu Journalists Association. I'm actually part of this because I'm also in the media industry. And it's a very good discussion that we're having just when I found you. And one of the key questions you asked is about the journalists as we head to the elections. Very, very critical. And during the Gen Z protest, I watched some of us participating, covering the news, and I was very afraid. And I could call the chair and asking him, so and so, Penyako, are you sure? And some of us were there. We were not in any way, how do you call it, branded. So nobody knows whether you are part of the media or you are someone who's been called as a spy. And remember where we are heading to. It's like Chair mentioned, it's going to be a lot of goonism that is being seen in most of this, and a lot of goons will not want to know where you are media, where you are happy. So your safety comes first. When you go to cover, make sure you are well branded, and we even need to be protected. Some of the media houses have helmets, some of us don't. And we only have our camera, and some of us are using phones. There are people who still don't believe in the use of phones, so they think those who are using phones are bloggers. Within that line, there'll be bloggers, there'll be those people who've been sent by politicians to spy, by police to spy, and you'll also be part of that group. So learn to move together with your team. Do not not move alone to look like sasa umepata breaking news, so you are now operating alone. You need to be together with your colleagues and just follow the media guidelines, because during elections things change. Things will not work the usual way that you're used to covering. And there's going to be a lot of things you're going to learn from there. But just remember that your safety comes first. As TI Kenya, we usually talk about journalists working together with us because of access to justice, and we want to appreciate Uasin Gishu Journalists Association because they are part of our grantees in our project. Tupigane na ufisadi, and we are really looking forward to seeing how you're going to work. Of course, there's going to be a lot more. We'll be doing a lot of resource mobilization and ensuring that media is part of it. So the good thing is that I'm in that side and I'm on this side. So always I ensure that when we're talking about media, there's something where media can take part. So as we talk about press freedom today, let us also insist on partnerships and collaboration with all our key stakeholders. We need as media to venture into finding out what other organizations are doing, because it will really help us to move even in terms of resource mobilization. So let's not just go to an organization because they have called for funds for an activity, but let's also go for just normal time when we go and sit down and have conversations, and next time when we need something, we'll be able to join together as we look for resources. There's not so much going on currently in the NGO world after USAID pulled out its funding and closed all the offices worldwide, but things are getting better bit by bit, but also requires a lot of working together. So take care of your safety. Make sure you know the media rules vizuri as you go to the field, and you are not biased. You might be forced to lean to one side of the political divide, and you'll find yourself in trouble. Watch out on what you're posting on social media. Personally, as a media person, do not be seen like you're taking sides. Kama ni governor fulani, senator fulani, even an MCA. They look at what you people write a lot, they follow, and you might be in danger out there. So just check out, but we'll still be working together as we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, PJ, for your contribution. I know we were supposed to take a health break, but in the interest of time, I think we only have got like 30 minutes left in this discussion. We have other activities lined up for the day, so you'll have to bear with us. In the meantime, I would love that we try to open up the discussion to other members in the room, a contribution that you have. If you have an ask, so to speak, if you have a question, that is, you can also give us your contribution. But before I do that, let me also give this opportunity to Duncan Wanga. He's just joined us. He's one of the longest serving journalists in this county. I know he has some share of a little bit experience. Anaweza kutuambia kitu kidogo kuhusiana tu na mambo ya media freedom going into the next election. Tunafaa kufanya nini kuhakikisha kwamba sisi kama wanahabari tunachangia katika mshikamano wa kitaifa licha ya changamoto zote ambazo tunakabiliana nazo na changamoto ambazo pia zinaibuka katika utendakazi wetu. Kwa hivyo Wanga, kama utaniruhusu dakika 3 hivi utashukuru.
Okay, good morning. I'm Duncan Wanga. I'm maybe the longest serving journalist in this room, more than 10 years. So I just give a very quick experience. One is about covering maybe election and riot, and where there is disunity or quite disturbed peace. One instance is nakumbuka hiyo ndio ilinifungulia ukurasa, ilikuwa kukava Moi University students wa riot. So ilikuwa pale KPA. Nimeenda, wanafunzi wamesema tunataka press. Sisi tumekimbia hapo, nilikuwa wa kwanza kufika pale. So kufika wanafunzi wakanikaribisha na furaha sana. Kasema sijui must go kidogo kidogo, wakaitwa na sijui ni principal man nani. Wakasema wanataka kuongelesha wanafunzi. So at this juncture I have a good story. Little did I know they were plotting against me. Kidogo kidogo nimesikia tutaki press, kidogo kidogo nimekimbizwa. Wamefunga gate. Wamesema wakaambia watchman hata usifungue gate. Mimi nimeinuliwa hobela hivi kama narushiwa huyu nikiendea mwingine na kamera zangu. Kafika juu ya gate, wakanirushia juu ya gate. Ilikuwa tu Mungu ndiye alisaidia. Secondly, ilikuwa about police brutality. Wengine kumekuwa na hiyo maneno tu ya election. I was on the right side kulingana na mimi, because when you are covering such things, kwanza unaangalia these warring sides, ni wapi utakaa for your safety. I was on the right side, nikakaribia polisi kidogo. Little did I know our policy, what I thought was the right side, was the bad side. It was bad, nasemanga bad choice. Nimekaa mimi nimepiga picha zangu, polisi wameshikashika watu wakiitiza kitu kidogo wakiwachilia. Kumbe I was not supposed to be there. Polisi wamekuja wameniinua pia, wamenirafa na kamera yangu. Kidogo kidogo karibu walikuwa wanataka kunirusha kwa gari, lakini luckily sikuingia hapo ndani. So CS mwenye alikuwa hapo ni mtu nilikuwa najua. Akamwambia, "Hey my friend, what are you doing?" Kaniambia utajua mimi ni nani. So pia hapo nikakuja kurealize ya kwamba there is power in media, because within some minutes masimu zilikuwa zimepigwa. Huyo CS hata kwanza akakuwa punished, akalipa my camera na kapigwa transfer. Sijui kama alikuwa demoted ama ilikuwa, but unajua kupigwa transfer na wewe kuumia, it is two different things. Hata kama nitakupea milioni 1 na umeumia, unajua kuna something ambayo inaenda kwa your mind, ina create something like fear. The last one, sijui kama ni the least, kuna nyingine nilipigwa tena Kitale. Hiyo nayo ni siku yenye siwezi sahau. Tumefanya interview kidogo, watu wametuita, watu wamesurround kidogo kidogo. Kuna jamaa nikaangalia safety kidogo, jamaa mmoja alikuwa na pistol, akatoa pistol akasema, sasa mtu akijaribu kukuguza kanionyesha pistol. Karudisha hapo, akasema I'm safe. Within some 5 minutes group ya boda karibu 20, more than 20, kaona wame break into that hotel yenye tulikuwa. Wakaangalia hivi na kamera kangu hapo, akasema hapa iko kazi kidogo sana. Kumbe kamera kalikuwa kadogo, nikafikiria hiyo ndio anasema. Within a minute niliona fence yenye ilikuwa kwa hiyo hoteli iliona chini. Sasa nimefunga tu macho, naambia Mungu asiguze kichwa. Huku kwingine nasikia tu kama vile watu wanapiganga maharagwe. Nimefunga tu macho, naomba tu, yani si imagine kama kichwa itaguzwa. The next stop ilikuwa hapa Eldoret, hata sijui nilifika aje. The last one tulikuwa na simu pale kulikuwa na maandamano ya hawkers na Kanju. So mimi nimeenda nimepiga picha yangu, naona niko the right side, watu wenye wanasukuma hao maguns. Sasa naona hapa kuna mtu anaweza niguza. Little did I know mwenye nilikuwa naye hapo, one of them alikuwa good. Next, ile kitu tuliona hapo, tulifurushwa, mkono ikavunjika, kamera ikavunjwa. So there is a lot of experiences in this field ambao to some extent caution, saa ingine nasemanga caution might not be a caution. Saa ingine unajipata ndani ya kitu ambao ulikuwa umekusudia ya kwamba labda niko salama, lakini baadaye unajipata kumbe hauko salama. So hiyo ndio baadhi ya mambo ambao wakati uko mwandishi wa habari unazingatia. Saa zingine unaweza umevaa hizi majacket kama press, umevaa kuonyeshana mimi mwanahabari wa kituo fulani, unafikiria uko safe, lakini kumbe wakati hiyo ndio umejianika kabisa. Wewe ndio wanataka watu kama hao. Unaweza kuwa nyuma ya polisi, saa nyingine watu tunafanya for safety purposes. unangoja polisi wako wapi, unaenda nyuma yao. Lakini hao polisi wenyewe to some point wanaweza kukugeuka pia wakunyoroshe vizuri sana. Nimekuwa Embo Boot siku zingine, ni experience mingi, ni vitu mingi tu yenye siwezi malizia hata leo. Tumeenda, kulikuwa na Kenya Forest walikuwa na evict watu huko. So si tumeamka saa tumewategea, tunajua kazi yao inaanzanga saa 2. Sisi mimi na rafiki yangu mwingine wa Citizen tumetega kamera zetu. Wakiingia tuingie nao. Wakati walikuja wakaangalia, hawakufikiria tuko pale. Wakakutana na kamera. Kwanza wakaogopa wakatoroka. After some minutes wakakuja kwa wanaitanga single file. Wana march wakielekea kuevict watu huko Embo Boot. Sasa sisi tukasense hapa mambo inaweza chemka. Wanasemanga inaweza kuwa mwejeje. Sasa tukakaa nyuma yao. Kwa ile style hao watu wanatembea nayo, hii style ni ya kutuchapa hii. Naenda wanachoma nyumba za watu wakifurusha, kumbe wanasonga tu ndani ya msitu. Songa tu ndani ya msitu. Lakini hapo ndio sasa wengine wanasemanga journalist wako na 60 cents. Tulikuwa karibu 3 hivi. Tukasema tujifanye tunaingia nao. Tukaenda na tukasimama. Wao wakafikiria wanatupeleka ndani. Tukatoka unyoya ndani ya hiyo msitu, kwa sababu tulikuwa tunajua kama wangetushikia huko ndani hakuna mtu angejua kwamba sisi tuna exist. Lakini sasa repercussion ni kwamba wakati ilienda hewani walikuja kusema hizo picha ni za Kongo, si za Kenya. Wanafanya wakasema ya kwamba hizi picha haziwezi kuwa hapa. Next ile meeting tulienda na county commissioner ama wawakilishi wa usalama, walisema itaendelea, watoke kwanza. So hiyo ndio some of the things yenye tunaendelea. Ingine ya mwisho ningetaka tupunguzie kidogo, nimesikia mkisema sijui hii misatu si record, ni waandishi ambao wanajiunga na serikali. We happen sometimes to be used na watu kama
wanasema unaenda mahali tumbo yako iko ama mahali maslahi yako iko. So suppose mtu anataka anakuambia okay, let me take a project in my mind, iko Flocus. Flocus ina deal na kusambaza mbegu za kahawa, kusambaza maji ili kuchimbia watu. Wewe kama mwandishi wa habari fika pale, unajua nani ndio unapata wanachimbia, wanasema wanachimbia watu maji, lakini maji yenyewe unapata inafunguliwa tap haimwagiki. In short, maji hakuna. Ukiangalia pipes zimedry ama pipe ni low. Wanasema hapa tunasambaza maji kwa watu, wanasema household 300 households. Lakini ukweli ni kwamba wewe mwenye uko hapo unapata hii jaba. Pata ukiangalia unaulizwa nini umeleta. Umeleta kufanya kitu inatokea. Umekuja kufanya kulingana mahali pesa yako imefika, unaenda kama wewe ni investigative sawa. Hapo sasa ndio unakaa na akili yako. Unajiuliza niko side of journalism ama niko side ya mfumo. Hizi ndio kuambia cha kufanya. So it is all about integrity. Kama unaenda kwa sababu ya mfumo, tu unaenda sababu ya mfumo. Kama umeenda kwa sababu wana habari, distinguish. So ni mengi ambayo tumepitia kidogo na ni si ya mwisho. So kwa mwanahabari sio kuwa ati wewe ni kama mimi. Some point ni changamoto nyingi sana. At some point kuna pia mazuri ambayo unakutana nayo. Baada ya mazuri pia sasa hivi unasikia waandishi wamefariki. Ni hao mazuri inaua pia. Sio mbaya tu. Wewe unachukua pesa ya mtu na alafu mmekubaliana utamfanyia hii, ukifika pale unageuka. hiyo utakaa vizuri. So pia sengine na hiyo sasa inaingia integrity na wewe mwenyewe personal. So ukiona mwana habari ifanye kitu mbaya, hiyo sema waandishi, naona waandishi ndio wanakasa hiyo. Hiyo ni personal.
So as we wind up, watch our panelists to get kimoja from what Rahab is going to ask, and prepare anything that you have as we conclude that you might want to contribute.
Thank you for Changia Minister. Maybe the last question to our panelists as we come to conclusion. We have what we call the constitution. That states that maybe Article 34 in collaboration with Article 33 that states that the freedom of media and the media is supposed to be free from control and also interference by the government, political interest, and also the commercial interest. Now my question comes here. We as journalists, how are we going to be free from, maybe are we going to be independent from maybe the environmental driven, that is being driven by maybe commercial interest? And the last question is that we are heading to election coming 2027. As a journalist, how are we going, maybe what are the safety precautions that you're going to take in place coming in the coming election?
Yes, in 2 minutes at most, necessary.
First, I'll start by saying, if media is not free during elections, then the elections themselves, they're not free. And as we head into this period of elections, nani ameongelea examples zake the challenges in the media space. We've all talked about protect yourself, these and these might happen when probably someone has fueled propaganda and something like that. So we as journalists, ni kwako kwanza, it is for you kujichunga yako, as in, you don't want to be a statistic at the end of the day, and probably we other journalists that probably will focus on this mama and babaya, and then probably you are attacked with something. So we have to accept that, Buddhism is a part, it's a reality, violence is a reality in elections, and we have to have the sixth sense. Analyze the situation with covering the elections, and the sixth sense probably whether, ni mfuko ama ni maisha yangu, ni mfuko ama ni journalism unafanya ama ni maisha yangu. Weka maisha yako kwanza, then the story follows.
Asante, Tarus.
Thank you. Kwanza maswali aliouliza kuhusu fairness. Hapo awali katika muuliza kitu. Sasa nami niko na we should be mentally prepared first. And that was about our mental health. Any person who is not mentally prepared to expect zero output from that person.
Sure.
Because as we are speaking, many journalists in Kenya currently are sinking into depression. They are battling depression, maybe because of what? Because of workplace challenges in terms of the remuneration, and that comes to the question of independence. Are we likely to be independent? The answer is both yes and no. Why yes? Somebody who is properly remunerated, that person cannot be compromised. And the opposite is true. A person who is not properly remunerated is compromised, and therefore he or she is not independent. And lastly, for safety precautions as we get to 2027 elections, I want to talk about something very important. In this case, as we head into 2027 elections, we should be prepared mentally, That is one of the safety precautions. Number two, whenever we go out to field, we need to be aware of our surroundings, situational awareness. What is likely to happen? And if it happens, how will I come out of this situation? That means we need to know our exits. If you come early, say it is a very national conflict, eruption took place here. Have we marked our exits? If the answer is yes, then we are prepared, then we are safe. If the answer is no, we need to look for exits. Otherwise, it is important that we be prepared psychologically, mentally for that elections. And it begins now by reading the slides.
Thank you, Omi.
Thank you for that, and after the cases and personally, I can say our name in the and what we stand in the we stand in something to say. There is no story worth your life. So, one, as a journalist, you must know that there is no story that worth your life. So you put your life and on the environmental, as Emmanuel has said, when you go somewhere, you must know or read out your environment. Know the environment the way it is. To see how people are doing, how people are perceiving. On the issue of independence, let me use the code of ethics by the Legal Council of Kenya. One of the ethics is independence. So, as journalists, if you want to do a story which will not go against the ethics, you have to be independent. Even though there are a lot of challenges, but let us try to be independent. On the safety precautions, going forward, especially on the election, or even when you are doing a story on riots and protests, kindly we have to work, maybe a work as a team. Because using story of Wanga at KPA previously, you went to KPA alone, maybe others were joining later, but you worked alone. And thinking that what you went through and nobody else was there to help. So going forward, try to maybe call your friend, call your colleague, or work as a team, so that even you go through a lot of challenges, there is somebody else who can help. Because you find even in the previous 2024, 2025, protests, there were a lot of 2024 were a lot of challenges, but in 2025, because the media, the persons were there, straight with their cameras, there were very minimal challenges towards the journalists, because the rest were very crucial in positioning themselves in different places so that they can keep their colleagues maybe safe. So we work as a team, we know our environment and we try to work always and be yourself.
You must wind up and Chairman.
Journalism is about media. But there are many stories that you can tell without necessarily being a listener. So this is meant for students, because this session naingia takuwa nainuliwa vile wanga aliinuliwa, nitakuwa napigwa tears, nitakuwa nafanya nini. No, there are so many stories you can tell, being objective, being independent, without giving a stigma that is made for our lungs. But still, there are very many stories that we can still kind of we are living in a world that is already with us. And so for us to be ambassadors of storytelling or fact-checking, then we need to have those skills using narration for
Yes, Chairman. My takeaway point would be that the press freedom is here with us, but the threats against that press freedom day by day, they change every other time. Therefore, it requires all of us to be vigilant in the sense that one, you must be equipped with the right tools. Okay? The way called for information disorder, which to me appears to be, or will appear to be one of the most the biggest threats towards social cohesion in the country towards 2027. My call would be stop, verify whatever information it is that you receive on that phone of yours or whatever it is that you believe. Just stop, check, verify, and before you can share it, do the three things that you just mentioned. Secondly, that we've had colleagues of ours who pay the admin freedom, the likes of Tweet, secret, some of our colleagues have duty. The other thing would be, we really thank the Media Council because itself, among many other partners, including the government, which has enabled the Media Council to set up media hubs across the country. Now 7 of them. And I think with the shooting media spaces, most of the bureaus closing up, media houses struggling, setups such as this, an alternative hubs for journalists, especially when it comes to their safety. Just 2 weeks ago, we sat here with our camera person who was running this by a few of my colleagues, gave Margaret County, going back to what one has said, 6 seconds. And I think this is the reason as to why many of our colleagues shy away from covering stories about blood. Some years ago again, some of our colleagues, part of our duties are dying, you are over college, they almost lost their lives because of some of these stories. But then these stories will have to be told. Because if we shy away, who's going to tell? We have to. But then again, risk assessment is extremely very important. Know your environment, working. Our engagement with the security agents has been very good, especially in this county. At all levels, we've been under them with them. And whenever there's an imminent threat, we never take it. We report on these issues. We form the Media Council, for example, where sometimes we support from the council. We are also working with other institutions. ICJ provides safe houses for journalists. If you're working on a story that affects your life, it provides the evacuation for you to work in a place just full of things. Always come back. So ICJ is a very critical institution that works with journalists and has worked with so many of them, ensuring their safety even in a very complicated story. And finally, as we mark this particular day, let everyone must be in their own small spaces. By so doing, we will be ensuring that the freedom that has been guaranteed to us by the Constitution, and again, we really are thankful because even the judiciary, just the other day, we had the Cybercrime Act that had, was very vague in terms of its implementation, putting some of our lives at serious risk. And the courts, stamp the authority in that particular act. And there we speak, we no more guaranteed of that freedom of expression to work for. So we will continue seeing many, especially the state, trying to infringe on these rights and the freedoms of journalists, but it is on the vigilance of us. Just know that you're not alone as a reporter. We have other institutions. BEC, for example, that wants to log these matters in court. So we are not alone. Guaranteed for us. still as employee guaranteed by the Constitution from the threats that continue.
Tunafaa kufanya nini?
Chairman, I would wish that you respond to that question if you don't mind.
And that's a very good question to ask, because just like Mwalimu said here, what we are experiencing in the media landscape is brain drain. You know, beyond being, it's a passion for you. For many, it is a career as well. It's supposed to feed your family, and it's supposed to, you're supposed to have your life moving on beyond it being a passion. And I want to state here that we've seen a challenge even when the Kenyan Union of Journalists, that more often than not, the Kenyan Union of Journalists, that more often than not, I think it is the only institution that fights for the well-goes, and we can mention about a few, only that we don't know. This agitation can begin with us. We can begin to demand for better pay for journalists from our media houses. And I think, as you rightly put it, it is a threat, because when I'm not guaranteed a pay for the next 2 months, 1 month,
and it is shameful.
For example, to see journalists wakiandamana kwa gate ya particular media It is scary, isn't it? But the beauty about it is that, as you know, right now, even as we agitated for president, the right to a better pay is also in the chamber, and it ought to be this kind of discussion. And for some of us who be having an opportunity to address the media outside there, please do not shy away from demanding for pay. I know some of the mainstream media houses have called, saying they wanted an interview from this city today in Eldoret. Apparently, we are the only institution that marks this particular event every year. So for that, some of us will be speaking to the media. Let us raise this in one voice, because it is also a big threat. When we are seeing the people who are accustomed to reporting on elections, wao wenyewe wakienda kuvai for those political positions, who will authoritatively report on it? It is because the media space is no longer lucrative as it were. So we must continuously be vigilant in the sense that
yeah, I think we will continue to press for that.
Before I ask my question that I have to ask Mr. Chairman that umeongelelea about that unakuta journalist pale hivyo mambo ya fedha inamkumba, alafu unakutana pia na yule kiongozi wa siasa anataka kukupea brown envelope, then utaovercome aje hiyo challenge ndio usipokee ile brown envelope na uavoid threat yake? Because sometimes unakuta pia sisi as journalists we have some of our weaknesses. Unaweza kuwa una cover information ya mtu but later on ni through brown envelope, tuta-avoid aje? Yeah.
Imetembea. It's a bad story about the county. Baba na mama hawajakulipa for the last 5 months. How do you deal with that?
Swali nzuri sana ambayo kwa mtazamo, ukiwa mwanahabari, elewa your assignment properly. Umeenda field, umeenda pale kufanya nini? Hiyo brown envelope akikupatia, treat it as appreciation or facilitation, amekufacilitate. But the most important thing, you report facts as facts. Report facts as facts. Kama amekupatia that brown envelope with an intention of maybe killing the story, that should not be your business. You report facts as facts. Remember, that brown envelope most of the time, labda ni kuua story. But is what you are killing the story? Unajiuliza swali. Is it worth killing the story? Is it worth? Then number 2, kuna swali waliuliza kuhusu independence ya media houses na mshahara wa wanahabari. Mine would be a recommendation to media houses to diversify their sources of income and revenue streams, so that they be creative, they be innovative. Remember, government is the biggest advertiser kwa media house. Now, we withhold the advertising fee, mambo hayasongi vizuri. So they need to be very creative, they need to be very innovative and diversify their sources of income. Thank you. Yes.
Maybe kama as a journalist, nimeamua that story I've been given a brown envelope, si ndio? Na niseme this story mimi siwezi fanya. Let me give fanya this story so that isionekane mimi ndo nimefanya. Inakuwaje hapo?
So if you are given a chance to ask questions, just make sure at least more than 15 minutes.
Okay.
We have to go all the way to the DK questions. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
For them today, shaping a future at peace. It's that as our mentors, how could you shape a young journalist future so that he or she can avoid favoritism and threat, especially during 2027 election? And how will you encourage them to maintain neutrality? And if it's through mentorship, how could you advance the program so that the young journalist can feel she's free from all those areas of threats and favoritism? Thank you.
Chairman, I'm a mwalimu who's willing
on mentorship and preparing journalists for the industry, or issue for the industry. That is, there should be for the mentor. So the mentorships and the programs that Media Council of Kenya and the Uasin Gishu Journalism are doing is just to open your eye, to give you a platform, to prepare you for the media industry. It is not itself going to instruct you or to force you to become a good journalist. So it is upon you to also adhere to the code of conduct, to be ready to be trained so that you are trainable and you are ready for the media industry. Thank you.
And just to add on the same is that the space where you are in today is supposed to exactly play that role of mentorship. Prepare you for what is expected of you when you're exiting the learning institution and coming to the field. We create an environment where you're able to interact with Timothy Seymour, Duncan Wanga and his experiences, what he's gone through. And going back to the issue of brown envelope, and I remember last year, I happened to have attended a symposium between journalists and the civil society network. And that question arose, and I will still answer it the same way I answered that time. It is always a moral question on when it comes to the issue of brown envelope. Please, if you're in this field to really make money, then you must think twice about it. Is this the right place? And is this the best way you can also get money from it? And really to speak the truth as it is, we have organizations such as the CNN and journalists who work for those international platforms. And you, by now you know they are funded fully by governments of the states where they come from, or the countries they come from. So, and sometimes you see them coming to places such as where we are in our country, following on a story, because there is a funding that has been provided by a particular institution or organization. That is not to say it is supposed to compromise that particular venture they are into, because merely they were funded, say, by Coca-Cola company. So there will be funding by institutions. But when I give you a brown envelope to persuade you from, doing what is right, then you have every reason not to partake in that brown envelope. But when the county government provides, for example, mobility to Moiben, there will be a story to be covered there. And then there is a logistical arrangement that has been put into place. And just like we are saying, media houses are struggling. But when there is an agreement between them and Hubs Media, for example, Sayare Radio and TV, the local stations around here, how do we get journalists from point A to point B without dictating, how you're going to do that particular story? It's always a moral question. So that you are not persuade to be lenient. Mumeenda huko lakini county government na ile magari liwabeba walipigwa na wananchi. Ukirudi unashindwa kufanya story walipigwa na wananchi. Then there is a problem, isn't it? Because lately so you are being persuaded to do a different story from what you saw. Vile Tarusa amesema hapo, your Bible is only one, and that which has been provided to us by the Media Council of Kenya, the 26 chapters or thereabout, that tells us on how you're supposed to address some of these instances. Remain true, be accurate as much as you can, because it is the only thing that will ensure that we build trust with the members of the public who consume our information. And when that trust is lost, we are no longer in the business of news and information. Yeah.
As he does that, apart from any other person that has a question? Well, sir. So, yeah. A question or a contribution?
Okay. Thank you. Naitwa Otieno Peter. And as a media trainer, I normally make sure that I have students who are capable of doing the best in the field. Sahi wale ambao wengi wamepata grants, they are paid. Wewe ukisubiri kuenda Citizen, yeye ana earn. Kuna mtu akotoka nyumba top yake apply grant 200,000, 300,000. Wewe utaenda kwa media ulipwe 10,000. Si ni kweli? So it starts with you, the trainers and also the students. Don't be lazy. First do something. Ukitoka pale kuwa kwamba unajua kitu vizuri, the skills. Usitoke university, usitoke college kama una skills. Again, we have the advent of social media and everything. Hiyo skill yako si uisell. Let me just give you a classical one. Siku hizi unapata Citizen labda wanapiga tu simu, tunataka mtu fulani. Kwa nini? Washajua kazi yake. Wewe kazi yako ni kukaa tu kuingia TikTok, na sio kazi yenye unafanya vizuri, so weke kwa TikTok watu waone. Make sure as a student kwamba because ukirely on the trainers, let me just be honest to you, wengi hawana nafasi yenu, wengi wako na ile hali ya kupata pesa ama so ukipata yule ambaye anaweza kutrain vizuri kama more of advertisement. Ukienda pale kama ni msichana, vaa vizuri ili kwamba ufunike uchi wako. Na sisi kama men, because I remember when I was a supervisor, nilikuwa nikisupervise mambo na the trainers wakikuja kwa media when I was a presenter. Nilikuwa naangalia ukikuja kufanya wakati orientation, kitu ya kwanza vile utavaa. Lazima nikuambie wewe utakuwa unavaa hivi, utakuwa ukikuja unafanya hivi, so that mambo na harassment kusiwe nayo. Another number 2 is about having the skills, because obviously if I don't have the skills, if I don't have the documents, kuna mtu atakudanganya, si ni kweli? Atakwambia kana mimi ndio upate kazi. But with the documents, with the skills, utapewa kazi. So let's talk about the issue of sexual harassment kindly. Let's see how well we can help our trainers and also the people we work around with. And also in terms of payment nowadays in the media industry, we don't really have good pay. So look for, and the other way you can really earn is on article, the grants. So many people earn a lot of money when you just focus on writing all grants. We have so many. So as you focus on maybe I need to be absorbed in the media industry, I need to be maybe work with the Citizen, work with the KTN, also work on your writing skills. As we mark our press freedom, because we have freedom when we have money also, right? So make sure that at least you're doing something which can earn money. Even if you are working on one of the, but again in terms of article writings, andika. Wengi hapa hawapendi kuandika. Students wengi hawapendi kuandika. Sasa nikiuliza students, wangapi wanaandika articles ambayo inaweza kuwa published? Wangapi? They are here. So you are there, we advocate for freedom, and yet you yourself, there's something. So at least fanya kitu ili kwamba kesho upate kazi. May God bless you all.
Thank you very much, for your contribution. I think I'll just allow her to ask the last question. Possibly, I hope I'll be in a position to respond to it. Yes. If I won't, I'll pass it to the panel.
Okay, mine is not a question. Lakini inakuja kama swali pia. So nitasema mwalimu alisema kuhusu industrial attachment. But I think that is where we are having a bigger problem first from the start. Sasa tukuje kwa kazi kama sisi wanafunzi, kwa sababu kuna mtu wa KBC pale, kuna KTN, kuna K24 na other media. Kulikuwa na Radio 47 mahali. So I was asking this, most of the students, like say mwalimu, if you look, kuna wanafunzi wengine hata bado hajapata the attachment, they're still uko nje, unaona. So I think as the Uasin Gishu Journalists Association should come together, msitukazie sana nini attachment, because we are here from class now to the field, because most of the institutions don't offer practical sana. So I think they should also, unaenda mali wanasema they only need 3 and you are like 20. So and it's just training. So I think the Uasin Gishu Association should come together and just say, if someone comes for attachment, just offer the person. Mwenye atajichuja asipoweza, na kama pia passion yake itamtuma, utaona mwenye atafanya nini, ataendelea, because mkitufanya kwa attachment, mtu atasema let me even change my course, because why am I struggling at the attachment level? Even though me nasema. Then another thing, it's about towards the election. as journalists, it's all about informing people. So we cannot assume, and that's why we come to readership. A journalist should assume not everyone is educated. Some of the people are illiterate. Ama wengine hawajajua kumbe kuna AI. Hata ukienda sasa village kuna watu wengine hawana just an Android phone, wachanata na iPhone, si ndio? So I think as the journalists, as we prepare towards the elections, we should now go deeper and inform these people now, sometimes physically. Juu kuna madhe hajui inafaa arejest voting, kuna mtu hajui hivi na hivi ndiye nafanywa, ama hivi na hivi ndiye nafaa nifanye nini. So hata kikujiwa na mtu hiyo siku election next year, we nipigie kura sahi, you know ata vote. So as we prepare, as we come about informing people accurately and so forth, we should also get deeper. Tusifocus only on mtu anataka kuenda tu place mzuri. So I think we should, kama vile alikuwa anakimbizwa Mr. Wanga. So I think we should go deeper to inform, because at the end of the day, media is all about informing. So we should get out, inform people. As we inform people, si wenyewe pia tutakuja tukae chini, tumeona hii shida, so how do we come up with a solution towards the election? Thank you.
That's a very contribution as we're winding up. Just to let you know, as Media Hubs, the chairman will tell you that we have a policy on sexual harassment as an office that is very active. We have that is
most of these media houses now, in their newsrooms, they need to invest in the verification. For example, at the Media Hub, and this you will be able to learn as we move ahead. We are seeking resources to have this particular space as a fact-checking center or a hub for the region. We'll be monitoring the social sites and all that manner of stuff, and we'll be able to provide, the accurate information, because we are expecting a lot of these digital spaces to be awash with a lot of misinformation or information disorder. So for the newsrooms, we are not under any pressure. The pressure that is there is to ensure that the newsroom is well trained to verify information, because members of the public will be reading this. Yes, you've broken it. But then they will want to come back to the mainstream media houses and verify, was it really true? Is it true that Kangata has ditched UDA party? And that is now left for the mainstream media houses or the legacy media houses. One word for the chair, and then I'm going to finalize it.
Thank you so much. My maybe contribution, or it can come in form of question. Currently, or in most cases, especially during the elections, we realize that the media houses align themselves with a certain political parties, and hence causing a lot of challenges to mostly journalists who are in the ground, to say in counties. You are aligned to a certain political party, and you are in a zone which it is believed to be mostly has supporters from a certain different political party. Hence, has become most challenged, because in the last general election, you find that journalists in the ground find him or herself in an awkward situation. Inabidi hata mwandishi wa habari anatoa logo, because once a logo is seen, things get tough. I don't know how we are going to maneuver with this, because it is a challenge which is recurring. Maybe.
Nitakutanisha swali lake pamoja na alilouliza hapo awali na swali lake kwa maneno matatu ama manne, kwamba we can never go wrong by doing the right thing. We just have to do the right thing. We don't have to incline ourselves to any political party. We stick to our Bible, because that is our Bible.
Thank you very much, Darus. Our code of conduct that is well outlined by the Media Council of Kenya. Acha nimruhusu kwa dakika moja atoe shukrani zake, tumalize mkutano. Jamani, mambo ni mengi.
Asante sana, niseme kwamba shukrani sana kwa contribution yenu kwa
sijui mbona wakati kila saa kila mahali wakati ambapo tupo, wakati the conversation is getting to an end, that is when it's getting sweeter. So sijui kama hapo ndo maswali na kuanga, yani inakuja tu hiyo wakati wa mwisho. Anyway, thank you. Imekuwa a very good discussion, and I would like to remind all of us that we are journalists, and our work is just to inform the society and also to defend the truth. So tusianze kusema etio sijui because kuna brown envelopes and here, so tunaanza kuua stories sijui unasema nini hapa. No, hakuna mtu anaweza kukutishia, hata kama atakutishia ukienda kotini, you have that evidence. So long as you have the evidence, be courageous on whatever you are doing. Obviously ukienda huko, the evidence itaku support. So let us not also forget that a free press or a free journalist is a foundation of an informed society. Thank you. Have a good day.
Asante sana. Mimi nikimaliza nitasema hivi. There is a famous no story is worth your life. Kuna mazingira ambayo ukajipata ukiwa mwanahabari, and you have to make a decision between choosing living or dying. Surely the Bible says, before you have put death and life.
goes ahead to tell us that you should choose life. Yani ikifika ni mahala ambapo umeambiwa utauawa, achana nayo. Achana nayo. You can, they always say you live to fight for, or you live to fight another day. Kwa hiyo, even in the process of trying to make sure that our society is formed, no story is worth our life. Ikifika ni mahali ukoona hapa naweza uawa, wanasemaga waoga huonyesha nini? Kama shujaa. Haina haja. You know, we are still, this is a fledgling democracy. Yani ndo bado tunakuwa kidogo kidogo. In this country, he mentioned a name, anaitwa jamaa alikuwa anaitwa Kitui. He was murdered brutally. Mpaka leo aliamua hajulikani. Kwa hiyo sometime inategemea ni nani ako na mkono kwa mauaji yako, kama utapata haki ama utapata haki. Hatusemi tu wao, lakini tunasema kwamba kuna mazingira mengine inatubidi kufanya maamuzi bora to live for our family than die for the country. Kenyatta's wenye waliokufa wakati wa uhuru walifanya hicho. Sisi letu ni ku inform the public. So shukran za dhati kwa kila mmoja ambaye ameweza kuwa hapa, kama uliongea hujaongea. Our panelists, you've been incredible in giving us contributions. We really thank you. Chairman, thank you for organizing this moment. I know this is not the last event for the day. We still have an activity to undertake, and you've been great listeners and contributors. Our learners, young learners, feel at home. I can guarantee you that you are going to get one of the best attachment periods. If you are doubting my words, at the end of the attachment period, call your colleague mwenye alikuwa probably any of these media houses, let me not mention them, umuuliza mlijifunza nini, then you'll have compare notes. Chairman, you can conclude the session.
Let's clap for them. That is okay. I think we will now go to much ado. We will now have a break, and after this, please, Kwandamani wote.